Okay, gold star to you, Sharika. Thank you for making sure I did it. Um, oh, another device. Hopefully, I have to have several devices. Is got a white plastic bag. I put in front of me to remind me to record. Okay. Now remove the plastic bag, which shouldn't be there. So we were looking at um, anatimani, this word that I've highlighted here. So mana basically, oops, look at mana thinking what you think and then what you think about yourself. Remember, incidentally, that our English words, or via Latin, of course, concept and conceit were originally the same word. So if you were conceited, the idea was you had a big concept, you had big ideas about yourself. So it's the same line of reasoning, the mana, your ideas about yourself, also meaning pride. And pride, this word mana is morally neutral. It can be good or good pride or bad pride. Um, just as in English, pride of itself is a morally neutral word. It can be good or bad. You can take a pride in your work, for an example, or you can be over proud. Now, mana, the prefix ati means over, and exactly as in English, it can mean over in more than one sense. So in English, you step over an obstacle, for example, step over a puddle, and that would be ati in Sanskrit and Pali. It can also, exactly as we have in English, the meaning of over in the sense of too much, excessively. So exactly that same extension of meaning it has in Sanskrit, Pali, and in English. So atimana means then would mean over pride and over big idea of yourself. And you just make an adjective out of that by changing the a to the e. So atimani, um, over proud, over conceited about oneself. There is another word. It doesn't appear in this text. It appears in the Bodhicharyavatara and exists in both Sanskrit and Pali. It's with the prefix ava. Now, the word ava means down or off. In fact, it comes into English. Ava comes into English as off. It's etymologically the same word. This is so avamana is literally, you could translate it etymologically as off-minding or down-minding. And it means putting yourself down in your own mind. And in the Bodhicharyavatara, which is, many of you will know, is one of the major Sanskrit Buddhist texts of the right way to live, the Atma avamanyana, literally self-down-minding, putting yourself down in your own mind, is regarded as actually a serious hindrance and device, because self-down-minding, Atma avamanyana, from that same root man, is the attitude, can't do it, can't be bothered, I'll never manage to do this, so I won't bother, which of course is regarded as a serious hindrance and an obstacle on the path. So you've got your atimana, over conceited, and you've got your avamana, literally your off-minding, putting yourself down in your own mind, both to be avoided. So I'll just read this verse through slowly, and I'll invite any comments or queries as soon as I've just read through it once slowly. Here we are. Karaniyam attakusalena yantang santam padang abhisamecha sakku ujucha suhujucha suvachochassa mudu anatimani. So any doubts or queries, please let us hear. Incidentally, these questions are often very valuable for everyone in the class, which incidentally is also why I do encourage people, if we don't get the chance this time, to write in with any comments or queries, because a lot of these questions then I will actually deal with in detail at a following class, and that will be to the great benefit of everybody. I'll just give you a moment to consider whether you have anything to ask, and then we can move on.
I have a question and also a meta question. The meta
Yes,
question
please.
is, should I just speak up or like use the raising hand emote or
Actually, we've got such a small number of people here that I think it's fine if you just turn on your mic and speak, Michael.
great. And my content question is, um, uh, is there a rule of thumb for seeing which words agree with each other or all, say part of the subject or the that kind of stuff?
The words agreeing with other words, as in adjectives agreeing with nouns, and
Yeah,
that
or
kind of
like,
thing.
what's the subject of this sentence? Uh,
Okay. I forgot to tell you what the subject of the sentence was. To answer your first question first, yes, and that's something we'll be dealing with in detail in the grammar section on the alternate that is the answer is yes. You have the masculine, feminine, and neuter. And adjectives will agree with nouns as they do in the Romance languages and in Latin and Greek, for example. Not only will they agree in gender, but they will agree in case and number as well. So, for example, um, if this were the Attakusalena by the gold-skilled monk, if you put the word bhikkhu there, you'd have the Attakusalena bhikkhuna. So you'd have both of them in the masculine instrumental singular. So yes, you do get agreement throughout the gender, case, and number, exactly the same way as you would in Latin. Um, so, what is the subject of the sentence? Okay, the subject of the sentence is an unnamed impersonal it. So, if you look at the word karaniyam, there's the karaniyam meaning to be done, requiring to be done. In English, we'd have to say it requires to be done. In Pali, it's enough to say to be done. So there's the unspoken subject. Um, but here the grammatical subject is the unspoken it. The logical subject is, of course, the what we call the logical subject. The person who's got to do it is the attakusala, but it's now in the instrumental because it's in the passive now to be done by the girl skilled person. But the actual grammatical subject is just not expressed here. In English, we'd have, as I say, we'd have to put an it in. Does that deal with the query, Michael?
I think so.
Okay.
So the sort of the agent of the doing uh, is the goal skilled person,
That's
and
right.
the goal skilled person is also the person who is having understood. Uh,
That's
is that
right.
right?
Yes. It is. It is that. So by the girls' school person having understood that peaceful abode, or having understood the way to that peaceful abode. Um, it's very, very frequent that you get this future passive participle followed by the instrumental. Um, Many of you, probably most of you, will be familiar with the chant, Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo. Well proclaimed by the Blessed One is the Dhamma, which among the other things is Veditabbo Vinyuhi. Earlier we had the Aniya form. Where was it?
If you are writing,
Sorry, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm constantly forgetting this will be a routine thing. You having to shout at me. Those of you who've been in my other classes will know well how it works. Um, Duncan and Rosemary certainly will remember, and Sanyu will remember very well. I'm constantly having to be shouted at. So this aniya here is one of the endings, karkaraniya, and another very more common one is the abba ending in Sanskrit. So veditabba. It's in fact this in Sanskrit it's tavya. In Pali it becomes tabba by regular mutation. So it's tavia, and it's the same ending that in Latin becomes abilis, and in English with the ending able, as in doable, lovable, edible. It's that same ending, mutated as the centuries have gone by, but it's that same ending. So veditabbo, pachatam veditabbo vinyuhiti, to be to be known for oneself by the wise. Now, veditabbo, again, this is an example of agreement of adjective and noun because it's the dhammo, stem form dhamma, nominative form dhammo. The dhammo is veditabbo, to be known. Now, very profound bit of etymology here. See it the whole time. The root vid means originally it meant either to see or to know. And for example, in classical Greek, it had the same. For example, literally in classical Greek, for I do not know, say ukoida, which literally means I have not seen. But this vid comes into Latin unchanged as the root vid, meaning to see, as in video and vision. It comes into English as wit in the sense of knowing. If you do something unwittingly, you do it unknowingly. It's the same word. So veditabbo, to be known, you could actually construct an old English word, wittable, knowable, requiring to be known, having to be known. And pachatam, each for oneself, to be known for ourselves by the wise. That's how we get pachatam veditabbu vinyuhi, by oneself, each for oneself, to be known by the wise. I forget how I got sidetracked onto that, but hopefully it doesn't matter because it should be all good stuff. So any more, and then we can proceed. Chris, please.
Yeah, it just seems worth commenting on the logic implied here. It seems to me that there's a future participle followed by a past participle in the first line.
So
That
which is the following past participle?
Karanyang Abisamecha.
Okay, right.
That it seems that the logic is that first you have to understand this peaceful state, and once you have understood it, this is what you have to do.
There is a slight inverted logic there that has given me pause for thought as well. So is he got to understand it first, and then he's got to do that?
That's what it seems to
Is what
imply.
it seems to me. Um,
This is what is to be done by one who has understood.
yes.
Having understood, then he knows what he has to do.
And you've made a very good, kind of slightly tricky point of logic there, Chris. And I mean, you could stretch the argument a bit and say, well, you've at least got to have some preliminary understanding of what you're meant to be doing. It could be that. Now, there's another thing. There's another aspect to this, which is maybe not quite suitable to go through it in this class, but Bhikkhu Bodhi has actually written an article arguing that in this particular case, abhisamecha could be construed as an infinitive in the sense of in order to understand.
Okay.
So if it were to be treated as an infinitive, that would completely argue, would completely answer that point. I did read through Bhikkhu Bodhi's arguments very, very carefully. Um, I feel extremely hesitant about doing anything to contradict a scholar of the magnitude of Bhikkhu Bodhi, who incidentally is my absolute hero as a Pali translator. Maybe I'm going to have to take the blame for not, for failing to grasp the profundity of his argument as how it could be treated from the linguistic point of view, how it could be treated as an infinitive. I wasn't absolutely convinced, and I kind of got the impression he wasn't really absolutely convinced himself, and was maybe trying to make the case that everything would be much easier if it were an infinitive. But there it is. I think for these purposes, we can say on the face of it, it looks like the regular absolutive, having understood, but there's a respectable argument for saying it could mean it could be treated as an irregular infinitive form.
Okay.
Mm.
I would have thought that it, a future the future participle followed by the absolute, which is effectively a past participle, isn't it?
So remember the abhisamecha. It's not actually a participle as such, and it's actually not constrained by time. It's neither present, past, or future. It's often translated as having done, but it's often used for just any kind of sequence of events. So if you're talking about a sequence of events in the future, I will go there and do something. In Pali, you say, having gone there, I will do. You say, I will do A, then I will do B. In Pali, you say, having done A, I will do B. But even though the entire thing is in the future.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So are we ready to proceed to? Yes, please, Todd.
The notation under the lines that I would like to read as like N1S neuter first singular.
Okay. I'm going to make a note to send you all the list of these abbreviations that explains them. Thanks for reminding me.
Okay.
I should have done it. I'm just making a note now. the note of abbreviations. And that will come to you when I send out the recording of this class.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Todd.
In the same vein, may I ask another question?
Yeah, please do.
Is there anywhere that we can get a systematic parse of these sentences?
I'm sorry, it's coming through a little bit blurred, and maybe my ancient hearing. If there's anybody else for whom it wasn't blurred, can you say it for me?
Can I try again? Do you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's coming through a little bit blurred, as if it's muffled.
Oh dear.
Okay, so try again.
I am looking for a parse, a grammatical parse of the sentence that shows the relationship between the subordinate components and larger components. Is any such thing available?
Okay, can you explain in particular with regard to this verse?
I'm afraid my knowledge of Pali is not adequate to it, but for instance, I do know that Pali words often have a dyadic structure. There are two parts, right? And from those dyadic structures, larger structures are built up. To put it another way, you can decompose, say, in English, a sentence into, say, a noun, verb, object, and each of those categories can be further decomposed depending upon the structure of the sentence.
Okay, right, yeah.
Now, in the case of the Pali, I would like to see if it were available, similar hierarchical structure for the sentence.
Oh, like we have these nested
Yes.
clauses, and just
Precisely.
And we get to Chomsky did a lot of that, didn't he? Noam Chomsky.
Chomsky's just one, not necessarily
Chomsky's
ideal
one.
form.
Yeah, I remember beating my brains out over reading Chomsky decades and decades ago.
Well, at least the thing is, though, for instance, you are supplying the knowledge that, for example, Karaniya is a gerundive.
Yes.
Right? And if we could at least have that grammatical information available, perhaps we students could intuit for ourselves how
right.
the words.
Okay, if you look down to the notes,
I do.
The notes that I've done here, for example, under Karaniyam.
Yes, I'm mentioning that.
Where I've said gerundive requiring to be done, and also given you the a reference to another grammar.
No.
So are you actually
okay?
I've never actually gone very deeply into the Chomsky and other styles of nesting and nesting.
No need. I mean, truly, I'm not embracing any particular style of grammatical analysis. Merely that I would be grateful if it exists, perhaps in your notes somewhere, for a tag applied to each of these words, so that a grammatical tag, as you have for Karaniya, in this case you call it a gerundive.
Okay, yeah. So I've got the in this box. I put the grammatical tags under each word. So the N1S, nominative, sorry, neuter, nominative singular, and N3S masculine instrumental singular, and all of these will be explained in the list of abbreviations that Todd has reminded me about, that I will be sending out. Normally, you should find that this is enough, and I think this is the first time in my 5 or 6 years of teaching, or teaching a largish group by Zoom, that I've had somebody who knows enough about linguistic analysis to ask me about it in that way. In practice, I haven't seen it cause any problem if we just interpret it according to the information here without descending into those deeper levels of nested clauses and subclauses and ordinates and subordinates and subordinates. I don't recall having come across a place where it's really necessary for the understanding of the text. Okay, admittedly, we've gone into a bit of a curveball here because we've started with with a sentence that does not have an expressed subject. Just to be done, meaning we'd have to say in English, this is what has to be done. It's hopefully sufficient to say in English we'd have to say something like, this is what must be done by such and such. In Pali, it's enough to use the one word karaniyam followed by the instrumental form. So that might be too simple for your liking, Alexandra, but it's how we've managed so far.
Not a problem. I think that, as you say, the questions arise only because this is a particularly unusual sentence.
It is a little bit unusual, but hopefully the explanation I've given will make it clear what is meant.
Thank you.
Okay, it's sometimes happens. It's actually quite useful that you get students who ask you questions. You want to keep several steps ahead of your students. When you get a question from a student who's going right behind you, it really keeps me on my toes as well. Keeps the brain young. So keep these difficult questions coming, please. Right. Are we ready to proceed to the next verse? Incidentally, if anyone does have any other queries that arise in the meantime, you're always free to bring them up at the next class or send me an email about them, and I'll be able to deal with them at the next class. So the fact that we're moving on beyond this verse now doesn't mean that we can't come back to it. We certainly can. This next verse is grammatically far simpler. It's actually just a series of adjectives, some simple adjectives, and some compound adjectives. So we don't have any syntactical or grammatical complication here. So santussako, it's from the root. Have I dealt with it? I think yes, I've dealt with it in the notes in the text box bit below. Some of you may know there's a Hindu name Santosh. Some Hindu boys are called Santosh. Incidentally, many of you may know Hindu, may know this, but in Sanskrit and Pali, you very frequently get a word ending in a short a. In Hindi, this short a is not pronounced. So that's why in Sanskrit you have the name Santosha, but would be pronounced as Santosh among the Hindus. And for example, in India you'll hear people talk about Buddha, meaning the Buddha. They'll just drop off that final Buddha, or Anand, the Ananda. Incidentally, the word for monastery, the vihara, the v often becomes a b in Hindi, and the drops out, and that counts for Bihar state, Bihar state in northern India, which literally means it's the monastery state, because there were so many Buddhist monasteries there. It just became known as the Vihara state, and then in Hindi pronunciation, Bihar state. So I just note that in case any of you were puzzled by the dropping off of a final A. Shalaka, may I inquire, what is your native language?
My native language is Marathi, and the text you have written in the beginning, I'm really happy to see that. That's the script we use, Devanagari.
Okay, so I didn't catch the name of your native language?
Marathi.
Oh, Marathi. Oh, sorry, Marathi. Yes, okay, right. So again, Marathi, of course, is written with the Devanagari script. That's how you normally do it. So Marathi, that comes from Maharashtra, or in Sanskrit, Maharashtra.
Yes.
So we all know the word Raja, a king, from the root Raj. So the Raja is the king, the Rashtra is the kingdom, and the Maharashtra is the great kingdom. And then by phonetic mutation, the language is not Maharashtri, just Marathi. It's kind of a simplified form of Maharashtri. Did I get that right, Shalaka?
Absolutely right.
I'm so pleased and relieved. Thank you. Thank you. So Santussako, it's a cognate with the Sanskrit word santosha, would be pronounced in modern Marathi and Hindi's santosh. Just means satisfied, easily satisfied. Subharocha, now. This subhara, we've just been looking at the word su, which can mean either good or easy. For example, from our root kar, we have sukara, literally good do, which just means easy to do. Sukara. Subhara means easily supported. In other words, you should be a low maintenance monk, not demanding. Now look at the word bhara. The root is bri. Sorry, let's call up my iPad. Bri, meaning to carry, and it makes an extended form of the root bhara. In Latin, it becomes ferre, to carry, which we have as fer in English. Infer, to carry in, to defer, to put back, to carry away. To refer literally means to carry back. That's the same fer. It comes into English as bear and burden, both from that same root. Because the bear and the bird, it's that same word. It's the carrying or the bearing. So if you are subhara, literally easily borne, easily carried, it just has this meaning of easily supported. So when you're supporting the sangha, they should keep their demands on the laity as low as can be. That's the meaning behind this subhara. And apakichocha salahukavutti. Apakicha means of few duties, not too many things, not over busy. I forget which verse, but somewhere in the New Testament, and Christ saying to Martha, "Thou art cumbered with much doing." because he was being over busy. I was talking about the future passive participle. Yes, gerundive is the alternative name for it. And we've seen the future passive participle from kri as the first word in this verse, karaniya. There are three common ways of forming the future passive participle. One is with the aniya that we've just seen. The other was with the avya or avya or tavya ending, which is the abba or tabba in Pali. And sometimes you can just add on a ya or a tya to the end of the root for the same meaning. The root kra, we're allowed to, we can have them all. I'll write it in Sanskrit first. So karaniya, kartavya, kritya, they all have the same meaning of something to be done. This kritya in Sanskrit, now we've got a regular phonetic mutation here. So as I mentioned earlier, Pali does not have the subdotted r, this vowel r. So it's kritya in Sanskrit, but becomes a ka in Pali, simply because Pali doesn't have the r. And the ch will often become a double ch. So kritya becomes katcha. You will see this as a regular phonetic mutation. That whenever you get, or almost whenever you get a ch between vowels in Sanskrit, like kritya, it will become a ch in Pali. And it's almost more natural to say it like that. We do the same in English, but with the difference that we still use the original spelling. I mean, how many people really say nature and natural? We tend to say nature, natural, because it's, the speech flows more easily. You can, if you're being very, very correct, say nature, natural, but it's it's easier and more common to say nature, natural. You see that same ch glide in Sanskrit and Pali, but with the difference that Pali will actually write it as it's pronounced. That accounts for the Sanskrit kritya and the Pali katcha. And if you're wondering why I frequently make references to Sanskrit when we're in fact studying Pali, that is because the roots, the all-important roots, are so much more transparent in Sanskrit. And even in the modern dictionaries, like the Pali Text Society Dictionary and Margaret Cohn's Dictionary, 3 volumes only out of 5 out so far. But the modern dictionaries will actually give you the Sanskrit root rather than the Pali root. Is there such thing as a Pali root? There's a bit of argument about that. But anyway, it's just much more. It's academically respectable and far easier to look at the Sanskrit root. And another thing, why it's so useful to see what a form is in Sanskrit, is that you get many Pali forms that just look wildly illogical and irregular if you look at them on their own, but become completely comprehensible if you go back to what it was in Sanskrit. And one of my favorite examples is, because I know that because Chris knows Spanish, I don't know if any other of you know Spanish, but if you take the Spanish verb decir in meaning to say, okay. Now, if you go to I said, the past definite, if the verb were regular, which it's not, you would have the form decir, but you don't. That form does not exist. It's an irregular verb. And in fact, you say, I said is dije. So from decir, you get to say, you get, I said dije. Now, if you're just learning Spanish without any knowledge of Latin, this dije just looks wildly illogical and irregular. How on earth do you get from decir to dije? Simple, just go back to Latin. Where you get dicere. It's a third conjugation and with an S past tense. So take off the ecere and put dixi for I said. In fact, in Latin, it's written with an X. Dic is written like that, but that's a purely matter of spelling. So it's dixi in Latin, which is a regular formation, dicere dixi. And from dixi, and you can get a regular mutation to the Spanish dije. It doesn't make it a regular verb in Spanish, but it explains, by reference back to Latin, what would otherwise be, just a complete illogicality. And the same applies in Pali, between Sanskrit and Pali. I'll give you one example here. We all know the word dasana. So I said we all know it. If you don't know it, you will very soon. It occurs in the last verse of the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Dasana, meaning seeing, and ditti, as in samadritti, frequently translated as right view. Now, if just looking at the Pali on its own, if you look at dasana, meaning seeing, also in the wider sense of vision, the vision of wisdom, if you look at dasana and ditti, meaning sight, it comes to mean an opinion or a view, but originally means sight, you would not see what the connection is. If you go back to Sanskrit, you get the root drish. You make a verbal noun out of it, a regularly formed, the rit becomes ar, so regular form darshana. So drish to darshana is a regular formation, so that means seeing, as in the seeing of wisdom. Equally, let's make a past participle and a verbal noun out of it. To make a past participle, you normally just add a ta, and one of the ways of forming a verbal noun is to add a t, so drish plus t. By a regular phonetic rule in Sanskrit, where you get a sh followed by a t, they both become retroflex. So seen is drishta, a regular formation in Sanskrit, and drishti becomes drishti, a view. So drish, darshana, drishti are all transparent, regular formations in Sanskrit. But by phonetic mutation, darshana becomes dasana in Pali. And again, by regular mutation between Sanskrit and Pali, drishti becomes ditti. It almost invariably happens where you get a sibilant or a sh before a stop. Drishti, the s drops out in Pali and it becomes just a double aspirated consonant, so drishti, ditti. So that explains how dasana and ditti are actually formations from the same root, which only becomes transparent when you look at the Sanskrit form. And there are just so many like that. So no apologies for frequently taking you back to the Sanskrit to explain. So the appa kicho, literally few chore. It could well be actually that the kritya in our English word chore are ultimately the same word. I don't think it's been established, but it could well be. So few chore, it means of having few chores. This appa, by the way, it's Sanskrit alpa, just means small or few. So appakichocha, and of few duties, of few tasks. Salahukavutti, lightly faring. That's in the phrase, treading lightly upon the face of the earth, is what that phrase means. And so let's look at Salahuka. The core of that word is lahu, meaning light. In Sanskrit, it is light in the sense of not heavy. In Sanskrit, it is laghu. You sometimes find that in Pali, Sanskrit to Pali, laghu, lahu. That's just a softened form of the pronunciation. And this laghu has come into English as light. It's etymologically the same word. So lahuka means light, lightly, acting lightly. And we've got a prefix, sam lahu, just becoming sallahu. It doesn't actually add anything. I don't see that it adds anything. Maybe slightly intensive. If the word lahukavutti were on its own, it would have that same meaning. And the vutti just means faring, proceeding, traveling, moving. And yet again, let's go back to Sanskrit. Vrit, this meaning to proceed or to turn. You use a past participle to make a noun there. Vritta means one's proceeding, one's going. In Pali, it becomes vutta. Now, here's the interesting bit. What is it in Latin? It becomes vert in Latin, which then comes into English as to revert, convert, invert. It's that same root vert, meaning turning or going. So here, sallahukavutti, lightly verting, lightly proceeding, treading lightly, living lightly. Santindriyocha nepakocha appagabho kulesu ananugidho. So santindriyo, it's santa indriya. It's a compound word merged into one. If the words were separated out, it would be santa, peaceful. That's the same word, that shanta word we've just had, and that occurs in the first line. Yantang santam padam abhisamesh is the same santa. It means calmed or peaceful. And your indriya is the senses. If you are santindriyo, you are then of calmed senses. The Aditta Sutta, the on fire sutta, where our senses are on fire, the eye is on fire. This is your senses are calmed. You're not inflamed with sense desire, is the meaning of peaceful senses. Nipako has the idea of prudent, intelligent. I always like to get back to the root of a word. I mean, the linguistic root of a word, to see the underlying meaning of it. And there is a sense of some slight academic dukkha and dissatisfaction when you come across a word which doesn't allow you to do it. It occasionally happens. Here we just have to live with our ignorance. There are some words where the etymology is lost to scholarship, may never be found. Incidentally, the word kusala that we dealt with, a very commonly used word that we also saw in that first verse, is one such word. The etymology is lost. The etymology of nipaka is also lost. I tried to fantasize. We have got the root pach, meaning to cook, and then to ripen, and we get the kamma vipaka, literally the out cooking, meaning the ripening of kamma. So kamma vipaka, the ripening of one's karma. I was wondering whether nipaka can cooked out or something, meaning mature, but the scholarly works, such as they help at all, do not support me on this, and the dictionaries just say uncertain etymology. So that's it. There are not too many words, but just a few where we have to accept that we don't know. Pagabho. So it's a double B, apagabho. This has got a rather entertaining etymology because the gabha is actually galb in Sanskrit. And guess what it means? It means galloping. So galb and our English word gallop are from that same origin. And in Sanskrit that is pragalbha. We can break the word down like this. So galbha, means you're not pushing. You're not pushing yourself forwards. Is what I mean. So the prefix pra means forwards. Usually has that meaning, is it motion forwards. So you're not forward galloping. You aren't pushing yourself to the front rank. You are modestly retiring to a junior seat, as it were. And the negating prefix a, same in Greek, of course, as has come into English. The prefix a, or before a vowel an, just meaning it negates a word. So pragalbha, not forward galloping, not being pushy, not pushing yourself forwards. And that becomes apagabha in Pali. So we've seen again and again these consonant clusters, the pra of Sanskrit and the lbh, very frequently just becomes simplified into a doubled consonant in Pali. So apragalbha, you would expect to see and do see apagabha in Pali. You see the same phenomenon, for example, from Latin to Italian, where you get the Latin octo, 8, which in Italian becomes otto with a double T, and septem, 7, sette in Italian. But it's etymologically the same word. So appagabho kulesu ananugidhu. Kula, word kula means family, but more not the small family. It's like often used for the larger sense of a clan. Query whether it's actually related to the word clan, the kula, and the clan meaning the family. This is a locative plural. So anugidho mean kind of a greedy for something. So not being greedy for families, not kind of hankering after family. In other words, currying favor. The idea of the monk who should not especially be currying favor with the families who invite him in and give him a nice meal and treat him nicely. Good when it happens. The idea is it's not right for a monk to curry favor, especially with families like that. You can accept the dana gracefully, but not be anugidha, greedy for it. And the kulesu is just the locative plural. We'll just look at this ananugidho. The root it becomes gidha in Pali, but the root is grid in Sanskrit and Vedic, which is another rather lovely one because we have it almost unchanged in English. So grid and greed are the same word. And if you are one very common way of making an adjective from a root is to add ra. So gridra in Pali becomes gidha. So grid, greed, gridra, Pali, gidha, English, greedy. We'll be looking more and more and more as time goes on at these verbal prefixes. We've seen the pra and the anu. The anu has the overall idea of following along in accordance with, following, going with. So anugidho, if you are anugidho, you are greeding after it, following it mentally with greed. So if you are kulesu anugidho, you are kind of greedy for hankering after the good treatment you receive from the families, and you negate it by putting a in front of it. And of course, the a becomes an because it's the following vowel. Incidentally, our English negating prefix un, the un, is that same prefix. It's just come into English as un. So I'll just read through this verse slowly then. Just try to follow it now in the Pali as I read it. Just Santusako cha subharo cha appakicho cha sallahukavutti Santindriyo cha nipako cha appagabho kulesu ananugidho. So what we'll do then, we've just come to 9:15, so we'll wind up there, and we can resume with an analysis of this and any questions about this verse when we resume on it. Actually, come to think of it, because the way the classes have been kind of alternating days and alternating what we're doing, I'll be following this on with this verse with the next group. But if any of you do have any queries, either send them in to me by email, or you're always free to raise them the next time this group meets. So thank you for bearing with me. It's been a little bit clunky. I hope I'll get into my stride a bit better as we go along. Okay. Thank you to all. Thanks all then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Jen.
you.
So much.
Malang
Thank
bhavatu.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thank you.